Hello.
Hi there.
How you doing?
Pretty good. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you sound great.
Okay. Uh-huh.
Howdy, Mike.
Hi, Mike.
Uh, he's muted. He's trying to say stuff, I think. Uh,
Mike.
Mike,
Mike.
Mike, Mike, you're still muted.
Sorry.
It's okay.
It was, yeah,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
wouldn't be Zoom unless somebody was muted talking away.
Well, most people don't pay attention to me anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Uh,
Do you guys remember Saturday Night Live? Long time ago, they had Jane Curtin and Chevy Chase, and they would do a takeoff on 60 Minutes of a debate between a woman, and the takeoff on Saturday Night Live was uh, Chevy Chase and Jane Curtin would be engaged in a dialogue. And every now and again, Chevy Chase would just say, Jane, you ignorant slut.
Yes, I remember
Well,
that.
I'm at work, like, this is easily 30 years ago. And when the ADA rules came out, we were trying to discuss what would happen if you had a colorblind electrician. It presents a problem if you're wearing green to blue and you don't know it.
Well, it only presents a problem the first time.
Yeah. So the other industrial hygienist and I were asked to attend a meeting about this, and it was a big set of tables that were arranged in a square. And initially, everybody was participating, and after about 20 minutes, the interest died out. And the only two people that were making any comments were uh, Mike Meister and myself. And I noticed that nobody else was really paying attention. So Mike said something, and I leaned back and said, Mike, you ignorant slut. And suddenly, everybody in the room is thoroughly engaged. It was amazing how they started paying attention after that.
Imagine how that works.
Yeah.
Wait, he just called him a slut.
Uh,
Uh,
I don't remember the original 60 Minutes, the people that participated in that.
I hmm. I am sure it is on YouTube because everything is on YouTube.
Oh, yes, yes. Hey, Barry, what you doing?
Oh, arising. What's up?
Not much.
What are we YouTubing?
Um, Chevy Chase. That is, that's not Chevy Chase. That's Dan Aykroyd. Oh,
Well, that was the takeoff, but the 60-minute people are the ones that I can't remember.
oh yeah, very. Um, there's a link. There's a link to it in the chat. That was
That was probably 30 years ago.
that was that was when
Behind every
Saturday Night Live was
a loving,
funny.
caring woman. But you wouldn't know about that, Dan, because there's no old saying about what's behind a miserable failure.
Jane, you ignorant slut.
I'm replacing this gate with the 3.6 meter one that I'll make in this video. It's going to be a traditional
Okay,
style.
that's
It's
loud.
like the-
What the heck is that?
I clicked on something. I don't know what.
So it was Dan Aykroyd that said it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought it was Chevy Chase, but my mistake.
Well, they were all part of that that
Generation. Yeah.
classic SNL.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some of the masters. Some of the people that made SNL famous.
60 Minutes, I believe it's called Point and Counterpoint.
Dan Aykroyd was on according to Google's AI, he was on Saturday Night Live from 75 to 80, and he was a founding member of that. So
He left in 80?
that's what it says.
Well, time flies when you're having fun.
And he's made many guest appearances over the decades, but I guess he's not a regular. Let's see. I'll date myself. I don't know if I actually remember watching Saturday Night Live. I mean, in 75 I would have been 5 years old. I wouldn't have remembered it. So maybe by the 80s I was 10. So maybe.
Well, probably the ones that I remember, and I do remember 75, were mostly guest appearances where he came back and
Yeah. Well,
that was during the era when Belushi was on the older Belushi,
yeah.
and
All the classics, all the greats. And
yeah,
I remember.
Right.
Yeah.
Dan Aykroyd's footwork with the Blues Brothers still amazes me. I look at how he's able to do that, and my feet just don't work that way.
you're talking about with the Blues Brothers.
Dan Aykroyd, when he was on stage, come out with the briefcase and the handcuff and open it up and the harmonica, and he starts dancing, and it's
Yep.
quite remarkable.
I think I only ever remember seeing the original run of SNL in syndication reruns, and that probably was mid '80s. So, I mean, I know all the classic players, but there's no way I would have remembered seeing them when they were on at first.
Well, even though you have a communicator on your head,
Mm-hmm.
you certainly wouldn't have ever seen the original cheesy Star Trek.
Only in syndication.
Oh, it's bad now, but it was as bad back in the '60s.
Not, not in the 60s,
Yeah.
70s maybe.
The original Star Trek was '66, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was in high school when it came out.
Well, when was that?
I graduated high school '67.
Okay.
'66 to '69 was the original run,
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
and then it went into syndication.
But it was never in the 50s.
No,
No,
no, no, no.
not the '50s. No.
No, but if you go back and you look at the props and stuff they used, I'm sure it was all budget. It had more to do with budget than anything else, but it reeks of 1950s bad B movie sci-fi. Oh,
Yeah.
look, it's a chair that you could just go out to the store and buy, and oh, look, it's some fake cardboard props with some lights behind it. That was I. That was a classic, though. That was, you know, and I wasn't around for the original run of Batman, but I saw Batman in syndication, so all the she's of the 1966 Batman.
I have to tell you, I never watched Batman, either the original nor the syndication.
Well, the original wasn't on TV. The original was on radio.
Ah,
I'm pretty sure of that. And there were a number of those that went from radio to TV. And
I know that, was it 47 and 49? There were serialized versions of Batman that you could watch before a movie.
yeah,
Oh, I have those from 46.
46.
I think. Hang on a second, because I just got those recently, and ironically, for some reason they're not labeling, but there was 16 of them
Yeah.
episodes,
Yeah.
and they don't catalog for some reason. 1943. I'm sorry.
43.
Yeah.
Yeah. I knew it was. Yeah,
Where he's a
pretty early.
CIA
Yeah.
agent. It's the first creation of Batman, and then the next generation of it, he was not the CIA.
Okay.
Or he wasn't a government. He wasn't a
wasn't
government agent.
I know one was incredible. I watched it. It was incredibly racist against Japanese.
oh yeah.
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 Well, I would say the whole premise of this one is like fighting World War II or whatever against the Japanese.
Yeah. Yeah.
I haven't watched it. I just I got a really good copy of it the other day, and I was like, dang, I was like, I never even heard of it, and I didn't know Batman went that far back. But they said it was the first rendition of Batman, and he was a U.S. secret agent for the government in that
Well,
series.
originally it was a comic
It
book.
was a comic book, yeah.
Well, for movies, TV stuff,
Yeah.
and then the next series of Batman, which came out a few years later, he was no longer a government agent.
Batman, um, the 66 version of Batman followed more comic-y kind of stuff,
Motif, yeah.
and then um, Batman 89 went a little darker. The comics had started to get a little darker, and they went a little darker, and that's where Batman has kind of fallen now ever since.
Yeah. Well, I think some of that I think solidified that with the trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
with what was it? Oh, I liked them a lot, but then all the ones since then have gotten darker and darker and darker.
Yeah.
Um,
Um, the one that the Batman with Robert Patterson is outside of the regular DC
universe.
universe, and it's really kind of good. It's really grounded in reality, even though it's not. It's not reality at all. Um, and they do a couple of doo doo. I said doo doo. They do a couple of things that you just go, oh yep, he's dead. He should have died. But it's a more grounded take, and it's not quite as dark, but it's not really funny either. And he's more of a detective in it. He's more trying to solve a puzzle than where an action hero that the Dark Knight and all the other ones try to make him out to be. So it's really pretty good, and I can't wait till the second one comes out. I'll go and see it in the movie theater too.
Well, I'll certainly date myself here by saying I can remember radio dramas laying on the floor, reading and listening to radio dramas along with the rest of the family.
Yeah.
Well, you might find this hard to believe that radio dramas is pretty much all I listen to.
Really?
Yeah. Especially when I'm driving. When I'm
Well, yes. We hope you're not watching YouTube while you're driving.
No, I mean, I don't listen to the radio or music. I have a tendency, if I listen to music, I will drive way too fast. Music just makes me drive way too fast.
Okay.
And so if I listen to talk radio, or even if it's not any topic that I'm interested in on talk radio, I don't drive fast. I just kind of drive. So I generally I have a 8 gig flash drive of a couple of hundred sci-fi movie shows from the 50s, 60s, and that's all I pretty much listen to. So, see, I think I was born too late. I would have enjoyed all of that stuff. I would have loved just sitting in front of the radio, just listening to that stuff while it was on the air.
Well, you have to rely on your imagination, obviously. I never fleshed out the background or anything like that. The only thing I ever had in my mind were simply the characters, nothing behind it.
Yep.
The Dark Knight. He watches my room. He makes sure nobody steals my stuff. I listen to X-1 and Dimension X mostly, a lot. And they always remind me of like Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
Like, that's what turned into Twilight Zone.
Okay.
And again, I love the original Twilight Zone, but I only ever saw it in syndication. I was just out of time.
Some of them are really, really classic, and I thoroughly enjoy watching it over and over. I think I don't know whether it's Slim Pickens or one of the other guys. He's sitting around the general store and he's just telling these most outrageous lies. And everybody in the general store knows that these are just fabrications. And he's talking about all the degrees he's gotten and all the education. And aliens arrive on the planet and they have mistaken his lies for reality. And they come and kidnap him. And he is aboard the spaceship. And he pulls out his harmonica and starts playing. And everyone, it's a death sound. And he walks out and they say, go after him, we can still get him. He says, no, leave him go. He's got the death sound. So he comes back into the general store the next night and starts relating how he'd been kidnapped by aliens. And everybody says, you've told some tall tales, but that's the best. Absolutely the best.
I remember him in, I forget what movie it was, but it was a movie where.
Your volume went way low for some reason, Art.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know what happened.
Well, let me check the wires here. Can you hear me now?
Nope.
Weird.
I think the one you're thinking of was called Hocus Pocus and Frisbee, 1962.
Probably was.
We
Sounds
still can't hear you, Art. I don't know what happened. I don't
we
know.
can hear that you're talking, but we cannot. You're not loud enough to understand.
Right, exactly. We can hear that you're saying something.
Can you
Just
hear me now?
For a brief syllable, you came in, but then you faded away also.
Okay.
try to adjust the mic gain. Try to turn off the automatic level thing or whatever. I really don't know. It's kind of weird.
Can you hear me now?
With an echo. We may be getting magnetic interference from your T-shirt.
According to IMDb, it was Andy Devine.
Andy Devine. Yes, you're right.
I wouldn't have known that. I know the episode, but I wouldn't have known who that was. But yes, according to IMDb, he was the liar, I guess.
Dan, there's an old saying.
What?
Jane Curtin came on. I clicked on the wrong.
I think the best, well, one of the best Twilight Zone episodes was To Serve Man. That was, the aliens show up. They're there to help people, and then they start taking people to their planet, and you
very well along the way.
And yes, you get fed quite well. And they leave a book, and eventually they decipher what the book says, and it's To Serve Man, and it's a cookbook. It's a cookbook. Oh, spoilers in case you haven't seen it. That's only been forever ago. And that one's such a classic one that, like, I mean, The Simpsons did it, and dozens and dozens of other shows have done it. It's just...
the ending where he says, you can either enjoy the trip and enjoy all these fabulous meals we're fixing, or not. It doesn't matter. Your end is going to be the same.
Pretty much. And that was, I don't know the guy's name. The tall guy that played Jaws in one of the, in Moonraker, James Bond.
Oh.
The alien. And he played Rook in Star Trek, and he played something. He was just an incredibly tall actor who got typecast because he was tall.
I vaguely remember the guy that you're talking about. I really don't remember any of the particular roles.
Richard Keel. That
Didn't register.
Kyle. You'll recognize him. Everybody will recognize him.
Yep.
7 foot tall, and there he is as the alien. in Twilight Zone, and some other weird movie that I've never heard of. Oh. He was in the Phantom Planet, apparently. I did not know that. He was Jaws in Moonraker. He had the silver teeth with I don't remember which James Bond. I remember him. I don't remember which James Bond it was. Apparently, it was Roger Moore. Are you saying anything, Art? Yeah, we can't hear you. I don't know what happened to you. Art was just fine, and now he... Could it have switched to, like, your camera microphone instead of your...
Hello?
There we
Oh,
go.
yeah.
Okay, somehow or another it got switched.
Yeah. I don't know how, but as long as you found the problem.
Can you still hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. For some reason or another, it switched from one audio source to another audio source, and how it happened, I don't know. At any rate, I'm back.
And that's a good thing.
Okay, I'm glad you said so. so, so, at any rate,
So is that your role later, or is that someone else's?
that's mine.
I had one like that for about 2 weeks after I had a stroke, and then I didn't need it anymore.
Well, unfortunately, I need it. I can walk a little bit, but uh, I'm unsteady on my feet, and uh, statistically, I tend to fall. So, but this thing works beautifully. I'm very happy with it. I've got two of them. I've got one here and one in California. Um, so this one, it's got four wheels on it, rather than the traditional with two wheels, and then you got two stubs, and those are awful. Um, it turns out that Medicare uh, pays for or provides actually one of the two wheel with the stubs, and I've also got one of those because I got the Medicare one, and uh, I don't know of a polite term I can say on Zoom. So, and I see these people walking around at the grocery store and out in public and so forth and so on. I think you poor suckers. I mean, you know, and these are not very expensive. These are less than $100. I think they're $80 or something like that from Amazon, and I really like it.
Last week, my dad fell again a second time.
Oh no.
And Mount Pleasant gave him a walker. Of course, it was one of the two wheels with the stubs. He's not complaining about it. He's complaining more that he has to use it, not that the walker is
Yeah.
bad. But he knows he's still very, very sharp, and he knows I've fallen again. I better use something to prop myself up. So, and I guess that's all he's really using it for, is to help keep him a little steady.
Yeah, if you need one, you need one. That's basically comes down because the trade-off is you start falling. My dad had one last few years of his life, and a couple of times he fell on the garage floor and hit his head.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you think about the kind of damage you do under those circumstances, you really want to have something. And actually, I discovered this model with the four wheels and the handbrakes and so forth and so on. My sister and I were out shopping one day, and I saw somebody with one, and I stopped them and said, "Where'd you get that?" You know, and they told me, and we got one for my dad, and it made a tremendous difference. Um, because he had all kinds of brain bruises and so forth and
Yeah.
so on. He should have been wearing a helmet, frankly. But
Well,
I like this one a lot. This, as I say, I have two of them, one here and one in California, simply because it is a real pain to try and ship the things back and forth.
Oh yeah.
Hmm.
well,
The cost of shipping quickly, it, a couple of trips shipping, you've bought one.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
oh yeah. And the this type you can't take on the plane with you.
Ah,
The kind that are the two wheels and stubs,
yep.
you can, but having one each place is very convenient to say the least. And since we're in the process of uh, vacating our California house, I will end up with two of them here. So
I think Mount Pleasant, the retirement community gave it to him just because he did fall. No doctor or anything told him that he needed it, and I'm sure his Medicare would get him one, but he probably would go for an upgrade because
yeah,
and pay the difference because dad's not he's not happy with even having to use it in the first place. So
well, I'll tell you, it's protects you basically. It does, and
well,
and this kind with the four wheels and the handbrakes on it is easy to use and easy to.
it doubles as a seat too, right?
Yes, you
Yes.
can. You've got a seat, and you have a little bag under it. You can carry, paraphernalia of
Yeah.
various kinds.
See, he would because he's still getting very tired. Having the extra seat, just
Oh yeah, it's
the ability to just turn it around and sit down and
yeah,
rest for a few minutes.
yeah, it's great because if you're in a store someplace or if you're out on the sidewalk, the problem with my legs is I can walk a short distance, but eventually my legs just give out.
Right.
And in my case, it's diabetic neuropathy that's causing the problem. And
Yeah, the doctors still don't know what's wrong with Dad.
Well, my experience with, and I don't mean this to be offensive in any way, because you already know I'm about a little older than you are, I think.
than me,
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I'm 7 years older than you are.
you are.
Yep, yep.
I would never have guessed you to be 84.
Well, I will be tomorrow.
Oh,
Well, happy birthday.
Thank
happy
you.
early birthday.
Thank you.
It's been my experience with women, particularly if they fall, they break their hip,
Yeah,
and uh, they just never seem to recover.
yeah. Yeah,
But
hip replacement has come a long ways in the last few decades, but you're right. It's never as good as the original equipment
no.
until the original equipment gives out.
In the early 70s, a friend of mine uh, was hired to help out clean out a woman's apartment. It turned out this woman had been a big stage actress in the 30s and had a luxury apartment in Kansas City. Luxury in terms of 1935. And when her husband passed, she just started accumulating everything. She never threw anything away. And in the early 70s, she could only go through this apartment, which was quite large. It was uh, four bedroom, and they were generous sized rooms. You could only go down the hallway sideways. Half of the bed was stacked to the ceiling. In some rooms, she had opened the door and thrown things over the top to fill the room. And she was walking down this narrow hallway or narrow aisleway and fell. And she broke her hip and was laying on her side because it was so narrow she couldn't turn. And when the super came in and opened up the apartment because the neighbors hadn't seen her, they immediately contacted her niece, and it was like she never returned. My friend was hired to go through that apartment, and he contacted me and said, "I need help." So, I'm on spring break, and they want me to go through this entire thing, and I've already gone through 150 trash bags, and I'm not out of the first room. But, it was one of those things where she never recovered from that. And my sister, about 2 years ago, fell, broke her hip, and likewise, she just never recovered. Yeah, she was home, she was on her own, but she was never really mobile or physically able to do much after that.
They replace her hip.
As I understand it, the socket and then the femur is like this, and she broke it right at this point. So they did not do a ball replacement. They instead put in a pin here. So it wasn't necessary because of the degeneration in the socket or the ball.
Uh,
It it's kind of funny. After I had the stroke, I'd been out, with a walker and stuff, and the neighbors. After a couple of weeks, I recovered and was up on the roof, and the neighbor lady driving down the street stopped the car, rolled down the window, and says, "What are you doing on the roof? Get off the roof!" You don't belong out there. So
Yeah.
I figured if I fell off the roof, it'd be more severe than a hip injury.
Probably.
Two-story home, yeah. But I don't go up and down the steps, particularly with things in my hands, unless I've got a hold of the handrail.
Yeah, that's prudent.
Yeah.
That's definitely prudent. Well, Leroy, I strongly recommend the rollator. They're readily available at Amazon. They're less than $100,
Yeah.
and they're worth it in terms of preventing falls and the four wheel is
Yeah.
so much better than the two wheel ones. I mean, there's just
Well, like
no different. No, it's
like like
they.
like I said, Mount Pleasant just they gave him something as a temporary solution. He still has to go to the doctor and find out all this other stuff, but the doctors they don't have any idea what is wrong with the man. They have no they have a couple of guesses, but their guesses are not panning out. None of the tests are saying that they're right. It's like,
Well, is it his legs giving out basically?
well, I you may not know the whole story. He what's it been, a couple months maybe.
Yeah, at least.
He has he went into the hospital with a 103-degree fever. 104. He was very high. The paramedics got to him and didn't even wait. They just put him in the ambulance and took him right to the hospital.
Hmm.
The hospital broke his fever, got his fever down, but they wanted to know why he had a fever, obviously. So he was in the hospital for a week. They couldn't find out anything, but they knew antibiotics was helping. Just a general barrage of antibiotics, not anything specific. So that was their treatment. They gave him a 3-day dose of additional antibiotics, sent him home. 3 or 4 days later, he falls in the bathroom, cracks his head open, back out to the hospital, another 100 and it wasn't quite as high, it was 102-degree fever. Everybody kind of went, well, he fell, so his fever's going to go up. But then they started looking, and it's like, oh, he was just here for almost the same thing, a high fever. So they ran a dozen more tests, trying to figure out where this fever is coming from. Couldn't find it. Antibiotics seemed to help, so they gave him a dose of antibiotics and sent him home. For another couple of weeks, every day, about the same time of day, he would get a real high fever. Not quite as high as the 103-degree, but it was definitely high, and he would just sit there and shake and be cold. He just kept saying, I'm cold, I'm cold, I'm cold, and he would shake. Okay. They can't find out what's wrong with him. This happened for 2 or 3 weeks. He would just, about the same time of the day, they would give him some Tylenol. It would bring the fever down, and he would be fine for a while. He would get really tired and go to sleep. For about a week, I guess, he was fine. There was no fever, there was no nothing. He was up, he was moving around. he was a happy camper. He was, whatever it was, went away. About 4 or 5 days later, after that, he got a high fever and was right back to shaking and being cold. About a week later, he had fallen again. Mount Pleasant gave him the walker, and you know, basically he's gone to. Well, he was in the hospital for almost 2 weeks, and they ran hundreds of tests. He finally got to go and see. Oh, I don't remember what she was, a rheumatologist, I think, and that rheumatologist was not happy that they could not figure out what was wrong, but she did not think it was a rheumatology problem. But she ran more tests because she wanted to see what the difference was from a month ago or 2 months ago to now, and maybe she could see a difference in the blood work and tell maybe it's just a real slow thing or whatever. So he goes back to her, I think Monday. He goes back to see her. So we'll find out what she says. But they went to a neurologist because he has lost his fine motor skills. His hands shake even when he's not cold. He just kind of shakes. And the neurologist says there's not really anything wrong neurology wise. That he believed whatever the underlying cause of the problem is causing him to shake, but he doesn't believe that it's neurological. And I'm like, okay. So basically, he's kind of went. I don't know why they sent you to me. Well, they sent him to him because he was shaking and he couldn't control his hands. Sounds like a neurological problem to me. And he's fallen. Well, at the time he fell once, but he's fallen. Sounds maybe like there's a neurology problem. But that's where we're kind of at. We're kind of waiting to see what the rheumatologist comes up with, even though she firmly believes that it's not a rheumatology problem. She sounds like she actually wants to solve the problem. There's the possibility that he's going to have to go to the Cleveland Clinic.
I can tell you, I went 15 years actively trying to find out what was the matter with me. And I had people say, there's nothing around with you. The test's all negative. It's just all in your. It's like, I know there's something wrong with me. and it was insulting for them to tell me, oh, just because the tests are negative doesn't mean I'm okay. It means the tests are negative. You didn't run the right damn test.
Yeah.
Cleveland Clinic is who finally diagnosed me after 15 years. It's a 4-hour trip up there.
Right.
If the Sultan of Brunei, with 400 of his closest friends, could pick any place in the world to go to, and he chose the Cleveland Clinic, I figure it ain't too bad for me.
Well, this rheumatologist, she has told him she doesn't believe that it is a rheumatology problem, and she really kind of was pushing him to go, but she wanted to get the blood work first and make sure, because there's no point in sending him up there if they could find something that's wrong. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, if you can figure out what's wrong and we don't have to go 4 hours up, and but
The
but everything I've heard about the Cleveland Clinic is they diagnose stuff that everybody else just misses. So this lady is the only one who has even said you need a diagnostician, not a doctor to tell you stuff. You need somebody to figure out what's wrong.
Well, my experience up there is they get all of the hard cases. They get the people that nobody else can figure out what the hell's going on. But the attitude is what I always found to be terrific. When you go in and you talk with a person, you're the only patient in the world. They don't have anybody else. They are focused on you 1,000%. If it takes 2 hours, fine. If it takes everything is within that campus, and so they give you a schedule, they coordinate, and you go boom. In a day's time, you have what Middletown Hospital would drag out for 2.5 years because they test something. Oh, well, it wasn't that. What should we do now?
Right.
Well, let's think about it for a couple of weeks, and then we'll try. Oh, let's try that.
Or we're just going to test for 1,000 things, and it's going to come out negative on all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. It really sounds like he needs to go up there because doctors here don't have a clue. they really don't. And
the institution up there, I am very high on. I think they do a fantastic job of the diagnostics.
So I told Patty, I told his wife, she doesn't want to drive 4 hours, and I don't blame her. She's getting up there in years too, and she doesn't like driving on the highway anyway. And I said, well, don't worry about it. I'm here. I'm not doing anything. I mean, if we need to go on Thursday, everybody would know. Everybody, I'm in Cleveland. I can't do nothing. So, nobody's going to tell me that I can't drive up there. We'll just put him in his car because he's more comfortable in his car, and lean his seat back and let him sleep the entire trip up.
Well, you know this already, Leroy, but if you need help getting him to Cleveland, just call.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. My sister's here. The only thing, my sister will get Patty to and from work. She already knows. I mean, that's really the only responsibility that I have here is to make sure Patty gets to work. So my responsibility to my dad takes precedence over top of my responsibility to Patty. But my sister and my mom both said, "Don't worry, we'll make sure Patty gets back and forth to work. If I have to be up in Cleveland for a couple of days, it's not going to be a big deal." So, I appreciate everybody help. I really do. And that's what I told Penny. That's his wife. I said, there's not anybody who is going to, not help me to help Dad get somewhere. So,
well, the quadrangle up there, one side of it, the south side, I believe, had been a very nice hotel, and that's where I stayed, right there on campus. So it was just a matter of walking a couple of 100 feet over to the clinician building. But after the Sultan of Brunei and his 400 closest friends came there, they tore the whole thing down and built a new one.
Okay. Well, you know, I I just I just want to know what's wrong with him. And dad has come to the conclusion now that he's going to be like this the rest of his life. He's going to be cold and he's not going to be able to stay awake for very long and he's going to need a walker forever. Well, I'm like, you're 86, 87 years old. You might need a walker. I'm not sure that there's anything going to do about that. But the whole being cold thing, somebody needs to figure that out.
Yeah. Well, we're very, very fortunate to have that great an institution that close. So, I before I moved to Ohio, I'd never heard of Cleveland Clinic. So I was kind of when it was first suggested to me, I was unaware of how great an institution they are.
Yeah, I really didn't. I didn't know much about them until here recently. I had heard of them, obviously, but I really didn't know a whole lot about what they did. And from the very, very, very beginning, when he was in the hospital for the first week, I kept going, these doctors are okay, but they're not diagnosticians. They don't have a clue how to diagnose a problem like this. Dad needs to go and see a diagnostician. And finally, the rheumatologist said he probably needs to go and see a diagnostician. Somebody that has a clue.
Well, they have great network within the foundation up there. So if they don't have an idea, they can pick up the phone and call.
Well, that's what he needs. We'll see what happens Monday or Tuesday when he goes back and sees this lady. Like I said, she might see something because the blood work that what she wants to do makes sense. Look at the old blood work and look at the new blood work and see what's changed, if anything, and maybe she'll see something that they didn't see. But it really sounds like he needs to go up there. It really does. So, but that's my story. That's my story about Dad. So until we know a little bit more.
Before we go away to that, you're talking about a rollator. If you look on Craigslist, people are giving away nice rollators like Art has for free all the time.
Okay.
And it's worth the drive to pick one up.
Right.
Well, the you know the a lot of them are being liberated by people dying off that have been using them. So that's where they're coming from on Craigslist, I'm sure.
They're at Mount Pleasant. They have that treasure barn place. That's what they do. They go in and they clean out houses of people that have either moved into assisted living or they're have passed away or whatever, and their family doesn't want some of the stuff that's left behind. And I see those rollators in there all the time, and I don't think they want very much. $30 maybe.
What's this in Mount Pleasant?
Mount Pleasant. It's there's a little organization. It's a volunteer organization ran by people that live there in Mount Pleasant, and they use the money to have parties or do something nice for the residents there at Mount Pleasant. So you're basically, if you live there, you're basically giving them the money back to yourself in some form of or another. But Treasure Barn, if you pass away or if the family or if you move to assisted living and you can't take everything that you own as you move into assisted living, Treasure Barn will come. They'll send a few people over and they'll clean out the place and bring it up there, organize it, test it out, clean it, whatever needs to be done, and then they'll sell it for cheap. like cheap.
Okay.
like like a DVD player is like $5. I mean, but they end up using money. You know, some of the nicer stuff. They know more or less what they're looking at, and some of the nicer stuff is priced accordingly. But a lot of it is just stuff, and they accumulate stuff and they get rid of it, and then they throw a banquet or a dinner or something. They do something for the residents.
Well, it's better than going to a landfill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're only open like I think Mondays and Thursdays, I want to say. But you know, they're a decent little place to get stuff, so.
So, Vicente, what projects you got going?
Hello, Punch.
Pardon?
I am designing several PCBs and sending them to China to manufacture. I am managing like 3 or 4 projects simultaneously, so I'm jumping from one to another. I am trying to reproduce a trainer made by Inside, the same company that made the Inside personal computer, the first personal computer with a Intel 8080, a big box. They made a small board with the first microcontroller from Intel, the 8048 was a microcontroller with a EEPROM with a glass window to program and erase the program. So they designed a trainer for this microcontroller in 1777 so. But they only sold like 300 of them. Was not much popular. People start working with BASIC in the bigger frame, in the inside computer with a lot of boards inside, memory and CPU, I/O. Was a huge box, but becomes very popular with the first people that adopted it. If you want to use more to do more with this box, you need a terminal. And for the day, it was very expensive to have a terminal. So people try to work with the EEPROMs and do assembly by hand, programming. I am working in let me show what I have now. The board is almost ready. Let me share the board I am working on. Share.
There we go. Should be able to.
I am asking for sharing.
I clicked allow. It should have allowed.
Okay, thank you.
It should have let you do it.
This is the board I'm working on. This is the IMSEI 8048. So you have the RAM socket here. Here you can use an EEPROM to put your program. And here goes the microcontroller. You can control where the program will run inside the microcontroller, or using external memory, changing this jumper. And I found the monitor program for the chip. So I reproduce all the functionality of the original board, but I made it a little different, right? Smaller, and using different tricks to make it more compact. I am using low profile MX switches instead of the original keyboard. I am using this display instead of the bubble display. Let me check for let me check to show you the original board. Here, okay, pictures. Okay.
The original board
This
fed
is
in
the
a
original board.
notebook.
This is the original board. This is the RAM. They use, this is 2K of RAM. I replaced this for a single chip. They use these relays for, the board was used to control model train setups, to control the trains, the direction, speed, or whatever. This relay is very hard to find, almost impossible to find. So I made a connector to use an external board with the relays here.
Okay.
This is the same location, the same signals that used to control the relays now are in this connector to control a standard Arduino board relay. Let me show the board I am planning to use. I almost made the same order, or the pins are the same that the board I am planning to use. Orders, relays. 1 second. Okay, here it is.
Vincente, this doesn't look like the first thing that you've ever done.
No, this is the board. You see the connector of
Yep.
this board is the same pinout than the board I am working on here. I am doing this instead of using the relays on board, because you can use LEDs or whatever instead of relay, and they are hard to find or occupy a lot on the board, so I remove this thing. I am planning to use the an adapter, a TTL USB adapter, and I am planning to power all the board using the USB-C connector. So you can select where the power will come if you want to use this barrel with 5 volts connecting this jumper, or you can use the USB power that will come from the USB adapter. Instead of using resistors to limit the current in the displays, I am powering this buffer with 2.5 volts to use the internal resistance as a current limitation for the LEDs. So I don't need resistors or transistors or whatever to control the display. And that's my idea. I made several experiments to do that. Let me check where is the experiment I did. Display drive here. I made this experiment using an Arduino, but using the same driving chips. Instead of using resistors, I am controlling the voltage of the driver. I am trying to check that all the segments have the same intensity. In this experiment, I was using a Zener diode. It doesn't work well because you can see that the 1 is brighter than the 0. You see?
Yeah.
And my idea is that all the segments have the same intensity. If you use 3 instead of the 7, they are more bright. So I changed this for a voltage regulator. I don't know where is it here. Here I am using a voltage regulator instead of the center, this regulator. And now all the segments have the same intensity. And you can use a potentiometer to change the intensity, or you change the color of the LEDs. For example, these LEDs have 2 volts power. If you use a blue LEDs, you need 3 volts power. So that's the idea of using a potentiometer to change the intensity here in the board, depending on the color of your displays. Green, red, or blue, or yellow, you need to adjust the intensity. This is the regulator. This chip is a keyboard display controller that do all the stuff of scanning the keyboard and refreshing the display. It was in the original board also, is this guy here. But instead of using driver and resistors and whatever, I am using the display is also hard to find. I already bought several. They are expensive, and it's nice to see them for a while, but they are too small for my eyes. So I decided to use this display. Okay, this is the one of the project. I have another one. I made a reproduction of ROM emulator, a memory emulator for develop stuff, whatever. Let me check for it here. Okay, this is the another board I made. I designed this board in 1983, and I lost all the files, but I found a file with an old program I did it. I use Python to transform this text file in tracks and paths and holes and everything. So I could reproduce the original board doing reverse engineering of the program that I used many years ago. So I made all this board. This is the this board. I used this board to develop a lot of products many years ago. The board was isolated because you used to have problems trying to connect the ground of your product to the ground of the computer. Always there are trouble with the shortcuts or whatever. So this board, you use a isolated transformer, wall transformer, and the serial data is passed through this optocoupler. So the microcontroller can read the data serially and fill this RAM, and then you can use these buffers to present this memory in your system through this ribbon cable connector. I am planning to assemble a reproduction and try to remember how it was working. This is another project I did. Another one was an adapter. Let me check it. This one. I made this. I made a teeny board adapter. I'm trying to move the image 1 second. This is not working. Windows is frozen. Okay, now. Supposedly there is an image here somewhere. Here. Okay, this is the board. There is a memory, a FRAM memory. It's a ferromagnetic memory that you can use like a standard RAM, but when you power off the memory, it remember the content. It keeps the content. So I made an adapter to solder a surface mount chip and make the standard DIP 24 adapter. This is another project. So I spent the last 2 weeks designing circuits. I have 2 more, but I explain them next week. It's too much stuff.
You always have a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something is happening. Okay, stop sharing. There.
Yeah. This
So
this week I really didn't do a whole lot of projects. Too many other things going on. I did get to go to an auction, and I got to experience the world's slowest auctioneer.
Really?
Went to an auction Sunday, and had I realized who the auctioneer was, I probably wouldn't have gone. But I ended up with 2 computers, so and I only spent
Okay.
$40. And it's not like I really needed more computers.
What kind did you pick up?
Old Acer, all-in-one machine. It's old. Um, got that one for $5 whole. And I picked up a HP all-in-one machine that is, I believe it's 8th gen i5. No, it might be an i7. It's a decent machine. It is older, but I got it for, well, let's see, I spent $40 all total, so I got that one for like $35. So that one gave me a hard time about putting putting Linux on it. It wanted to
Really?
Windows 95.
yeah, Windows wanted to stay. I'm like, mm. And I guess I did all right, but I went. It started at 10 in the morning. I was there until 2 o'clock. I bought what I wanted to buy. My sister drove past the auction at 7 p.m. and he was still auctioning stuff. And had I realized that this was the auctioneer, I went to one of his other auctions about 2 months ago, maybe 3 months ago, and it was pretty much an all-day affair. And he just drug on and talked a lot like this. Give me $1. Somebody, I just want $1. Oh, I got $1. Somebody give me 2. Come on, guy. Auctions are supposed to be fast.
Yeah.
But, I got what I got what I set out to get. My sister was looking for lawnmowers and that kind of stuff, and I told her that this guy had some lawnmowers, but she was tired, and she was like, I drove past, he's still there, there's a few people there. I'm like, well, you might get a lawnmower cheap if there's nobody there. And he's still selling them. But yeah.
Well, what is the source of his products, so to speak?
Well, this was I believe it was an estate sale, and the guy apparently was a hoarder. I'll give him. That place was full, and apparently this was a 3-day auction. This was the third and final day, and it was still full. So you couldn't barely walk into the barn that was out behind the place where all the lawnmowers and tools and that kind of stuff
Oh,
was.
this was on site.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
was not at an auction house.
No, this was on site. Um, the guy must have been a hoarder, but he had uh, lots of RC cars.
Really?
Lots of probably 200 plus RC cars. And I thought about buying some of them, but I was like, don't really need them, don't have the room for them. I thought he had at least 200 doll babies from probably the 40s and 50s. I'm assuming that those had to have been his wife's, and he never got rid of them. That his wife disappeared and or died earlier. Because I'm sitting there going, doll babies and RC cars, those are not really the same thing. But it was an eclectic mess of stuff and tools. Old tools from 60s, 70s, 80s, and there were probably 40 lawnmowers.
Why would you need 40 lawnmowers?
Because you're a hoarder and you can't get rid of stuff. And they were all in various states of disrepair.
Yeah.
I mean, you could just look at them and go, yeah, that one probably doesn't work. That one might work. He found the auctioneer brought a old tin or metal fuel tank fuel can, an old metal one. It was a 5-gallon drum, and he picked it up and shook it and said, "Yep, there's gas in it." And I'm sitting there going, and everybody around was going, "How old is that gas?" Because the metal tin thing had to have been from the 50s. I mean,
Well, I wonder if it's even still gas. Could be water in there.
Lacquer.
it's lacquer
Yeah.
at this point. Yeah, it's like I'm not putting that in my car. Yeah, gas is expensive, but I ain't sticking 2 gallons worth of whatever that is in my car. But I would suppose that maybe that was a gas can being used to gas up the lawnmowers, maybe?
Possibly.
My nephew is a small engine mechanic, and he had like 100 mowers in the back of his yard. And you ask how do you get those? People knew that he worked on mowers, and so if theirs stopped running, rather than take it to the landfill, they'd bring it by and drop it off at his house. He'd come home, and there might be four used mowers in his front yard. He didn't ask for them; they just materialized.
Just there. There they are.
So he'd wheel them back there to the back and cannibalize them to make it anything that he was working on work, and then scrap them out. Took them to the junkyard for alloy cost.
This house was a very interesting house. It was 3 bedrooms, had a basement, did not have an upstairs. Basically, it from the outside it looked like a ranch, but once you went in, it was a maze. It had no idea. I walked through one room and got completely turned around. I had no idea how to get out of the house. There were 2 entrances to the basement from the garage that was attached to the house, so you could get into the basement 2 ways there. You could get into the basement from the outside, from the house kind of sit on a hill, and you could get into the basement from the outside. And then there were a set of stairs in the kitchen that went down into the basement. It was a very interesting house, but it was very maze-like. It was, if you didn't have a map, you were going to get lost in that place. And it was completely full of stuff. So, you're just looking at stuff and piles of stuff, and it's like, I'm not sure what room I'm in.
But this was an estate sale, basically.
I believe the guy probably passed away and or went to a nursing home because, yeah, it was basically an estate sale. And apparently the auctioneer had 3 different sales, and this was the last one. He said the house had been sold, and everything he had to get out of the house. The new owners were getting ready to take possession, and he was not even close to having that house cleaned out, ready for the new owners.
So these auctioneers work on a percentage of the handle, or
Most of them do, yeah. And I mean, honestly, most large auctions like that, which would be, a 3-day auction, most of them would have 2 or 3 auctioneers working so they could move stuff along. That there was a whole outbuilding uh, behind the place that was just completely full of tools. Now, if you're not there to buy tools, there's no reason to sit there for 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours while the guy's selling tools.
Yeah.
If you're not interested in the doll babies, there's no reason to sit there for that long. If you're not interested in the RC cars, well, he did kind of move along with the RC cars, but there's no reason to sit there for that long. If you had 2 or 3 auctioneers, you could split the toys and the RC cars off into a separate deal, and you could split the tools off, and the people that
I
were
need
interested.
I need an RC controller,
Do you?
a joystick. Yeah, mine
Well,
mine that is that
if I would have
to
known
move
that,
the ah
if I would have known that, I would have grabbed one, because they didn't go for very much, but I didn't know you needed one. So the next auction I go to and I see one, I'll
yeah,
see if I can
please.
grab it. But yeah, I mean, most auctioneers would have at least 2, maybe 3 rings going, and this guy was doing it all by himself. And the longer he set, the tireder he got and the slower he got. It's just like,
Well, you may recall that Julie's, my wife's father and grandfather were both auctioneers, and they had a number of people whose only job was to point out who was bidding.
yeah,
The auctioneer didn't have to keep track of that, and they cooked right along.
yeah,
There wasn't any of the delay that you're talking about.
yeah.
Uh,
I mean, I've gone to like auction houses before where, it's a little bit more calm kind of deal, and there's still 2 auctioneers.
yeah.
One auctioneer will get tired, his voice will get tired or whatever, and a second will come up and take over. And
Julie's grandfather, I can recall, he's taking bids and he's cooking along, and he pauses and he says, "Folks, you couldn't even buy the light bulb out of this lamp for that."
yep,
And goes back into it, and where it makes people interested in what's going on, and it's a fun thing. But as you described, it would be painful to do. Well, I apologize for going back. You were talking about the uh, folks that went through houses that had been downsized and such for the Mount
yeah,
Pleasant.
yeah.
Uh, Last weekend, Julie and I were driving along, and we saw a dumpster that had been parked behind some apartment complexes. And we pulled around to take a look and see. And uh, we pick up dishes and pots and pans and those types of things. Rather than go to landfill, we'll take them to Goodwill or Salvation Army. And Julie is looking at this pack of stuff, and she said, "These people didn't go through this stuff at all." She said, "Look at this." And she reaches over and pulls this out of the pile of clothing.
oh, Benjamin.
Yeah, and then she starts going through the pockets of the clothes, and she said, "Come over here." come over. And she's got everything hidden away because people are watching out the windows and stuff. She doesn't want somebody coming out there and saying, hey, that's my money. So she says, I can't reach that. Can you reach over and grab that? So by this time, she's got a fistful of Benjamins. She's got like $600 just come out of this stuff. And I grab the one that she's pointing to, and as I pull it up, I don't know whether you can read that or not, but it says motion picture money.
Oh,
She was so excited about having a whole fistful of hundreds, and they're all for motion picture money.
oh,
Printed.
you had me going because I believed that I figured they would be like Trump bills or something.
Well, we have picked up where people have thrown away quarters. We picked up a box that had 30 some odd dollars worth of quarters in it, and gift cards and stuff like that. And I'm just throwing the gift cards in the trash, and Julie says, no, we got to check the balance on those. And one of them was a Walmart gift card, had $165 on it. It's like, why would anybody throw that away? Anyway, she got very excited when she thought she had recouped $600 or $700 worth of money.
I would too until I realized.
So it's like Monopoly money.
It actually is better quality than Monopoly money if you don't read the print on it. Even from a foot or so away, it looks to be real money.
It's Hollywood money. It's what they use in movies, so it looks real. And if it's counterfeit basically.
Well, it's
but
damn
it's
close to it.
but it's stamped so you know that it's counterfeit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen some of that prop money before. Some of it looks really, really good. The I was at one auction. Forget it might have been a Miami University auction. I don't remember, but they were selling cash registers from somewhere, and the auctioneer at the time, he had loaded 2 of the cash registers with money to seed the idea of just placing the seed. So this guy bids and he gets his choice of cash register, and he said, well, it's kind of take your choice. I bet there's money in one of those or 2 of them. And he said, there's probably a lot of money left. Okay, I'm going to take all of them. Opened them up, found money. He found money in more than one, but it was like $4 or something. he spent like $80 a piece on these cash registers, and I'm sitting there going, don't trust the auctioneer. He's gonna tell you stuff.
Yeah.
I bet there's hundreds of dollars left in there. I'm like, no, you're
I
going to
can't
check
get them open.
that.
You have to plug them in and put in the code to get it open.
That's
Don't tell them what's in there.
Oh, I can hear it. They're shaking up. Something's in there. Now, we were at one auction, and there was an old piggy bank, and the piggy bank itself had value because it was old, and you could hear there was money in it. So who knows how much money was actually in there. I actually do believe that the auctioneer had no idea what was actually in that piggy bank, because it was one of those piggy banks that I don't know how you would get the money out. It didn't have a plug on it or anything. It was one of those weird piggy banks. But
The universal opener.
yeah. So, like I said, the piggy bank itself probably had some value just because of its age. So,
Yeah.
um, I'm sure that it was a decent sized piggy bank, but I'm sure there wasn't a whole lot in there. Auctioneers aren't going to give you a whole lot of money. Doug Ross used to, if he couldn't get a bid, he would give you 50 cents to take something away, though. I've still
Well,
got my 50-cent piece.
Julie is able to she has gone to probably 1,000 auctions in her lifetime because every weekend growing up, that she went with her dad to the auctions, and she knows that you have to pay people to haul a sofa off, and that fine china may be valuable at the time that you're getting married and have it on your wish list, uh, but after a while, nobody wants it.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. Uh, I don't know why, but we have like 6 sets of fine china, and I think it's because, oh, those are really pretty, and nobody wanted them, so I can get it, you know, a Noritake set for 50 cents.
I would, 20 years ago, maybe longer, I was at a computer auction, and the auctioneer literally gave me money to take a bunch of monitors away because nobody wanted them. I didn't want them, but if you're going to
These
pay
were
me to,
were CRTs
they were
or
CRTs. They were actually worth some money, but there were 200 of them, and I didn't want to move that much. But he said, I'm going to do a reverse auction. You tell me when it gets to the point that you'll take them. And I think he went up to about $40 or so, and I went, okay, I'll take them. I think at that point I had only spent maybe $100, so in the end I walked out of there only spending like $60 or something. And then I had all these monitors that I stuck on Craigslist and I stuck on eBay, and I was getting $40 a piece for these monitors. So it was a good day. It was a good day, but that doesn't happen often. I particularly like when an auctioneer will do reverse auctions, though. That's always fun.
so how do you find out about all these auctions?
Auctionzip.com. Last week we started talking about auctions. This week we're talking about auctions. What happened? What? We used to be automation. I get off on going to auctions, and then we have to talk about the auction.
The one that I liked wasn't actually an auction. UC used to sell surplus, um, computer equipment.
Yeah.
They also sold lab equipment and so forth and so on. And I got a number of monitors and a number of uh, old towers. They weren't all that old. They were, maybe maybe now they would be 10, 12 years old. But you put Linux on them, and you know they run like a top. And but those weren't auctions. Basically, they had a price on them, and it was just a surplus sale. They don't do that anymore. They apparently have some third party that they sell them off to.
Yeah, it's all they still sell, but they're on govdeals.com or was it?
Yeah.
Gov
I forget.
deals,
Yeah, yeah,
but
govdeals.com.
but I don't think they do them at the UC warehouse anymore.
Well, they're there. You have to go pick them up from there, but it's all online.
Okay.
It when I was buying some of their surplus stuff, they had gotten in trouble for uh, leaving hard drives that had personal information. They were supposed
Well,
to wipe
Yeah.
them out and restore them, and they didn't do it. And so
well, when
there
I
for a while, they completely stopped selling computers, just completely.
well, the ones that I bought didn't have a drive in them,
Okay.
so you had to buy a drive and put it in there. But um, you know,
We used to be able to go down there and buy complete machines, fairly inexpensive, but they screwed up and then they got in trouble. And then they did something uh I don't remember. It was a while later they started selling them again, but by that time they had already soured a bunch of people on them.
I was to
So
say after COVID hit and everything, and they were on that action site, price of RAM started climbing. The
yeah,
whoever's doing it was stealing all the RAM out of the computers too. So
yeah.
unless you were buying a working computer, they were pretty much stripped it down to a bare bone box, even though they said they had stuff in them they didn't, because the kid working there had gutted them.
But when I first started going to them, they were only open I believe one day for to the public, and you could go in and they would have like two or three pallets, and they had something they called a sealed bid. So you could look at these pallets and you could write down what you were willing to pay, and noon or 2 o'clock or something in the afternoon, the guy would uh, the guy in charge would
Cool.
open the bids up, and if you bid more than the guy before you, so that's how we ended up with a bunch of that stuff. And a lot of it was like you said, Barry, it had been stripped, but there was enough there to make, you get 30 machines, you might be able to get 15 of them working from that stack of garbage. And then
You
they
were
had a
talking about leaving sensitive information on the machines. It reminds me of the Epstein or Jeffrey Epstein files,
yeah.
the redactions that the government did. All they did was use a highlighter and highlighted the word in black, and you could download the PDF file, click on the quote unquote redaction, and remove the highlighting.
Okay.
These are girls or women or whatever whose anonymity should have been protected.
Right.
Inept.
Well, there was a room at UC that they had, I don't know, 50 machines set up, and you could buy actually working machines, and they all were supposed to have been wiped out, and that's where I think people just their techs, which were students, just started throwing machines in there and say, yeah, it works. Give us $100 for it. Oh yeah, it works. It's got all kinds of stuff on it that it shouldn't be having. And your student, whoever had this machine, probably should be in trouble.
That's why when the state of Ohio has theirs up there in Columbus, and they sell all those fully equipped computers on the skid, and people bid them up to like 30 and $40,000 a
Yeah.
skid. Makes me wonder how much government data is still on them or recoverable off those drives that they're spending that kind of money on. You know,
Well,
a hundred old lap desktops.
that's the crazy thing. That stuff started skyrocketing after memory.
Oh, I mean, this like when before COVID hit, they anything with the state of Ohio is like I don't know if they filtering drugs through it or what, but man, people bid those skids to like $30,000 a pop
Yeah,
Wow.
for those machines coming out of the
yeah,
Ohio state government.
yeah.
Well, in terms of ineptness, when I was in the Army, I had a job that would occasionally require me to go down to the security message center and go in and sign in and get a document and read it. But I wasn't allowed to leave the facility with it. But the next day, almost verbatim, the information would be in the Army Times.
Yeah.
I've got to have a classified clearance to go down, and I can't leave the room with a copy of it or make any notes. But it's in the Army Times.
Oh, mine was, we're looking through periscopes and we see vessels cruising around. Can we identify it? Sure. Grab the Jane's Book of Fighting Ships.
Yes.
Okay. There it is. That's the one. That's what we see. We have a book that tells you all kinds of stuff about these vessels, and some of it is very, very, very accurate.
No, we need a tank mechanic that speaks Spanish and can be gone for 6 months and has all of its foreign shots. The next day, we're having maneuvers in Colombia or wherever the hell it was. It's like, it was ridiculous.
Yeah. Sometimes the government doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Oh, really?
Most of the time, the government doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Really?
Oh. Well, I can hear Patty making her way in here. It is getting on 7 o'clock.
So what are we having for dinner?
I don't know. She did not give me a clue today. So we grocery shop tomorrow, so it's probably mac and cheese.
Oh, okay.
We are in person next week. Is that correct?
We are in person next week down at the library in Westchester, and that's all I know. Oh, cool. But that's all I know. I ain't got nothing else. I guess I'll see everybody next week.
Okay. Have a good week.
All right.
Take
Bye.
care.
Bye.